My wife Clara and I have lived here for almost 12 years. Raising two boys, Kipton, 11, and Angel, 8, means that we hardly have the time or the money for home renovations. Putting back money is usually just a dream for us, especially because Clara has been dealing with health problems. She became homebound around Christmas last year, having dealt with a round of COVID that nearly took her from us. The doctor said she needs to stay indoors for 2 months or longer. Kipton and Angel have taken it a lot harder than me. I know they want her to just get better, but her immune system was ravaged. Over the past few weeks, it made her stir crazy though, especially because she was starting to get some energy back. She'd want to deep clean the house on a daily basis, and while I'm not against having a nice place, I didn't want her to push it. And some days she would. After a cleaning day, she would have no energy and hardly be able to breathe. That's why I started pitching in with a few DIY projects of my own, starting with replacing the den carpet. The red material we had has probably been here longer than the two of us have been alive, and gone through countless dogs and cats pissing on it. Carpet cleaning has always been a chore, so I figured it would be easier just to scrap the whole thing. I had the boys help me out over the weekend, grabbing some safety gloves and Gatorade for the project. They were all too eager when I told them they could basically be as destructive as they wanted, once furniture was out of the way. They started on the left edge, and I let them have at it, while I mostly made sure they didn't accidentally hurt themselves with the box cutters. Kipton was the one who found the hatch. As soon as the carpet near the west end of the den came up, his foot snagged a little brown rope that was tied to it. It was about 14 by 14 inches in diameter, a perfect square, and had a small indentation just big enough to reach in and lift it. It was made entirely of old birch wood, a stark contrast to the cement around it, and had old etchings of paint or some oil on the edges. It was hard to make out what it was meant to be, scratched in the hatch. It almost resembled a twisted and outstretched hand, with one of the fingers notably missing. Angel was just about to open it when I grabbed his hand and stopped him. "Might be mold. I'll get us masks," I told them. The boys were all too excited to see what was on the other side of our discovery, and honestly, I didn't think too much about it until I explained to Clara what we had found. "How did that get there? I thought your grandfather built this house," she commented. I suddenly realized I had no clue. He'd certainly never mentioned there being a basement when we had bought the house from him. "It's probably just some extra space for piping or something," I told her. Although that didn't explain the strange markings on the hatch. They looked like symbols of some kind. "Gives me a bad vibe. I wouldn't open it," Kipton told me. I couldn't tell if he was serious or not. This was a bizarre discovery, but was it dangerous? I told the boys we would wait and see what Grandpa Gary had to tell us first, but they didn't listen. I guess I should have known that their curiosity would win over. But the way it happened, it was just the first tipping point for us. They promised not to bother with it, and went to play Xbox while I waited to hear what he had to say. He lives a few blocks from us in a small retirement community, so it didn't take long for me to touch base. When I mentioned the hatch, his response made me more concerned. "I never opened it, and you shouldn't either. It's Pandora is what it is. I can tell." I wasn't sure why he felt so strongly about something like that, but I didn't question his wisdom and decided the best thing to do would just be to cover it and forget about it. But less than a half hour later, I returned to see Angel standing there staring down at the hatch, the lid wide open. "What did you do?" I asked, a bit frustrated he had broken his promise so quickly. His eyes looked fuzzy and dark like he had been in a trance. Then I looked into the hatch to see what was below. On the walls of the hole, there were red and gray bricks all the way down, until about midway, where dark, clear water glistened. And below that, I couldn't be sure how deep it went. "Looks like a wishing well," Kipton said. He was right. Again, I wondered how long it had been there. "We should toss in a few coins and make a wish," Angel said excitedly. "I guess one wish before we close it up wouldn't hurt," Clara admitted, as she wheeled herself into the den to see what we were up to. I was relieved she wasn't upset that the boys had ignored us, and so we agreed to let them each make a wish before we sealed it back that night. After dinner, we all grabbed a quarter from Angel's piggy bank and stood around the well. "Now remember, your wish has to be a secret," Clara told him with a smirk. He grinned and nodded, holding the coin next to his lips and kissing it. Then he dropped it into the well and it made a splash. I let Kipton go next, and he stood next to the water and shuffled his feet. "Are you not going to make a wish?" he asked. I shrugged and said I would, encouraging him to go ahead and do it. Once they were done, I shooed them off to go grab their pajamas and get ready for bed. Claire and I stood there alone for a moment, and she showed me that she had a coin too. I let her drop the coin in the water and then closed the hatch. "What a weird little thing," I said, thinking that was the end of it. And then pushed her back to the room and got ready for bed. "What did you wish for, anyway?" I asked as I kissed her and tucked her in. "Not telling. If I tell you, it won't come true," she teased. I got in bed too and snuggled. "Well, I hope whatever it is, it can come true," I told her. "You didn't make a wish," she pointed out. I touched her cheek as I closed my eyes. "Don't need to. Got everything I need right here." In the morning, I heard a scream of excitement come from Angel's room, and it made me jump out of bed. I ran there to see him leaping around like a frog and shouting thank you. Before I could ask what was going on, I saw a small chihuahua scratching itself near the foot of his bed. "Where the heck did that come from?" I asked in shock. He ran to me and hugged me. "Thank you for answering my wish, Dad. I don't know how you knew, but you did," he shrieked as he snuggled the puppy. I stood in the doorway a moment and then looked to see Kipton waking up. He looked at the puppy and seemed both happy and confused. "I thought we couldn't afford a dog." I didn't know how to respond except to hold up my finger and walk to the bedroom, hoping that Clara knew what to make of it. "What? A dog? How can I get a dog in here without you knowing?" she said once I told her. I felt an uneasy knot form in my stomach as I turned to Angel. He was holding the puppy in the hallway and screaming like a toddler. "Angel, did you wish for a puppy when you dropped your coin in last night?" I asked him. Yeah, I did, Dad. Is that how you knew?" he asked. The school bus honked out front, and they ran off to get on, leaving me to watch the newly acquired dog. "So, you're saying you think Angel's wish came true?" Clara asked when I told her what he had told me. "It's the only explanation that makes sense," I admitted, nervously looking at the puppy and then toward the den. "So this dog didn't even exist before yesterday?" she said, staring at it. It looked so harmless, but it gave me a weird vibe. In the movies, we see these fantastic things happen, and we can easily rationalize that it's only a film. Stuff like that doesn't happen in real life. Yet, here it was in front of our eyes. The manifestation of our child's wish. But you and Kipton didn't have anything magical happen, so what's that about? "Maybe our wishes weren't as powerful," she guessed as I opened the hatch and looked down at the water. Nothing looked any different. "Man, this is just crazy. How in the world could this be a real wishing well?" she asked. I didn't have an answer, but the dog barking at my feet was all the proof I needed. We had found something beyond our understanding. "We should do an experiment. Make one wish tonight and see what happens," I told her. "I don't know. This feels wrong," she admitted. "It's the only way we can know what we're dealing with," I said, taking a coin and making a silent wish. Then I dropped it into the void. "What'd you ask for?" Clara asked. "That's a secret. Angel didn't say his wish out loud, so I'm guessing that's how the magic works." "Magic has rules?" she teased. I shrugged as I closed up the hatch and looked at the puppy. Apparently it does. For the rest of the day, we debated what to do about the puppy. It would need food and water if we kept it. Angel would also have to take care of it, of course. I didn't really know how to explain that it simply came into existence to our vet, so I didn't bother thinking about setting up an appointment for shots. Did magic dogs even get fleas? It was a silly question to ask, but none of the past 24 hours made sense. That night, we told the boys we would keep the dog for now, until we knew what to do with it. I didn't want to make promises I couldn't keep. I still wasn't entirely convinced that this dog was the result of a wish. The implications of being able to create our wildest dreams was kind of mind-blowing and exhilarating, and I silently hoped that the wish I made would also come true. Same as before, I woke to a scream. This one wasn't of excitement, though. It was panic and fear. I jumped up and ran to their room and saw blood on the carpet, and then saw where it came from. The puppy was gagging and vomiting red liquid as Angel cried frantically. "I'll take it to the vet," I said, scooping the dog up and rushing to the car. I didn't even bother to wake Clara. I was already in full panic mode. The poor dog kept wheezing and shaking as I drove. I tried to place a hand on it to comfort it, trying to make sure it was all right. A moment later, the puppy was still and quiet. I slowed down at a stop sign and looked at it, surprised to find that its paws were cold. It was dead. I sat there at the stop sign, disturbed by what I saw next. The puppy was deflating the way a balloon would. Its skin shriveled up and its claws flaked like dust. Then it let out a groaning wheeze and completely disintegrated before my eyes. I felt my heart racing as it disappeared from sight, the car behind me blowing its horn as I sat there. I drove home in a stupor, numb to the horror I had just witnessed. When I got home, I saw the boys smiling and happy, and then I saw why. Clara was in the kitchen, standing up and cooking pancakes. She had a smile on her face, too. "I know what your wish was," she said softly, as she flipped a pancake and then saw how pale I looked. "What's wrong? I'm not in pain. I thought you'd be happy." "Boys, go play outside," I told them. When we were alone, I explained what had happened to the puppy. "Just vanished? What does that mean?" she asked. I don't know. It's gotta be connected to the well, right? Angel made a wish, but it didn't last," I said as I stared past her towards the den. "So, the effect of the wish is temporary?" she asked sadly. I knew why she was upset. I had wished for her to feel healthy, and now she was. But for how long? "This is easy enough. We simply keep wishing for the same thing," I suggested. It sounded like a good idea. The alternative didn't appeal to me at all. If the dog simply ceased to exist, would that mean Clara would get worse? Sicker? Could she also die? My harmless and selfless act now felt like a mistake. But I knew what to do. That night, when the boys went to bed, I made another wish, and dropped it into the well. I would make sure the well was always fed, so that my wife could have a good life again. That couldn't be so hard, right? We settled into an uneasy relationship with the wishing well over the next few days. Making sure our wish wasn't wasted, we would always have the boys go to bed a little later than usual so one of them didn't wake up and sneak off to make their own wish. Angel and Kipton didn't fully understand why only one wish was allowed, nor was I sure if I could explain it myself. I was worried for Clara. After that first incident with the dog, I didn't want anything to happen to her. It terrified me. You would think seeing her able to move about on a daily basis would make me happier, but it didn't. There was this gnawing sensation in my stomach, telling me that this wasn't going to last. Eventually, something could go wrong. It did that Saturday. We decided to take the boys for a drive to the beach, to get out of the house. We don't live terribly far from Galveston, so it would be a short drive in the Suburban. But on the way, we got a flat. Thankfully, it wasn't hot, but the setback had them whiny. "We need to wish for a new car, Dad," Kipton piped up after they began to argue. "Yeah, this thing's a piece of junk," his brother chimed in. "Boys, we've been through this. Material items like cars and toys are just gonna fade away after a day of use. A wish like that would be wasted, and it could hurt Mom," I told them. It was the simplest explanation I could give. But they weren't listening. The rest of the trip, they were talking about a car they wanted, and bickering over what it should be. Finally, I snapped and yelled at them both. "This is ridiculous. We aren't going to be dropping any wish in that well except the ones that I make. Is that clear?" The boys were surprised by my outburst, but it did shut them up. A morose mood lingered throughout the remainder of the day, souring our entire trip. When we got home that night, I showered and helped Clara into bed. I could tell something was on her mind, so I asked if it had to do with my behavior at the beach. She'd been hesitant to talk most of the day. Ben, I know you think you're doing this out of love for me, but I've been doing some thinking. It's not fair to the boys that all the wishes we make are just for my health, she told me. I pulled back from her embrace, looking at her skeptically. What is that supposed to mean? Well, maybe they should be allowed to make a wish or two. Like on weekends. Just so they can see we're trying to make sure everyone is included. I stood up, fixing my eyes on her face and glaring. But you know what that could do. Last time I thought I would lose you, I said. Sure, but you didn't. I know it was scary because I was out for a day, but I think it would be worth it. Kipton and Angel are good kids. They just want to be happy like any other kid would. We shouldn't deprive them, she argued. It's not depriving. I'm trying to protect you, I said. And before she could even get another word out, I threw up my hands and remarked, I don't want to continue this conversation. It's not happening. Out of the question. She grew quiet and we settled in for the night. I knew she was trying to make this fair, but nothing about this arrangement was normal. We couldn't reason with the well to keep her safe, just so the boys got another puppy or something. I was doing what had to be done, even if they didn't understand it. I had to keep things together or it would all fall apart. That desperation rocked me to sleep. When I woke, I got up to shower and head for work, just like normal. The boys sleep in on Sundays, and Clara typically does too, so I didn't even wake them as I made my way to the garage. I flicked on the light and my heart plummeted. A new car sat there in the garage, shiny and clean, just like the boys had been bickering about. I could feel anxiety rising in my bones as I rushed back inside, checking on my wife immediately. Just like before, she was unresponsive. I could tell she was sleeping, but nothing I did woke her. The well was holding her in some kind of hibernation. I was sure of it. My desperation turned to anger as I went to the boys' room, demanding they wake up. Which one of you made a wish last night? I snapped. I pulled off my belt to show I meant business. Someone better start answering right now, I told them. Kipton and Angel seemed confused. Both of them shrugged. It wasn't me. I was exhausted after the ride home, my oldest said. Angel also claimed innocence. I felt blood rush through my face as I tried not to faint. Clara. Clara had done this to herself. I went to the well, opening it up and trying to remember how Kipton had managed to dispel his wish the last time. Go in there and keep an eye on Mom. Tell me if she wakes up, I ordered Kipton. He did as he was told, and I started to drop coins into the water. It was marginally closer to the surface again. I said as many wishes as I could, but it didn't seem to make a difference. Clara was as cold as ice, unable to break from the trance. I grabbed Angel by the arm. I need you to make a wish for Mommy. Can you do that? I told him. Ow, Dad, you're hurting me, he complained. I gently released his arm, repeating my request. He looked nervous. We're almost out of coins. What if it doesn't work? I can get more. Please, just try, I said. He took one of the last coins we had and then stood near the edge, staring down at the water. He hesitated. Well, go on. Go ahead, make a wish, I insisted. He started to sniffle and tear up. I don't want you yelling at me if it doesn't make her better, he sobbed. I was trying to remain calm, but each passing moment that he didn't do something meant Clara could slip away. Let's do it together. I promise I'm not mad, I said, my voice shaky. He nodded, and we held hands and then dropped the coin together. The moment it struck the water, I heard Clara gasp for air. She sat up and looked at Kipton and then toward me, and Angel on the floor next to the well. The boys seemed relieved, but I was furious. As soon as they went out to play ball, I confronted her. How could you do something like that? I snapped. Did the car appear? she asked. I rolled my eyes. I'm sure it's long gone now. It's brand new in the garage, just like you wanted. But you're missing the point here. She pushed past me to the garage to get a look. I was going to tell her that she was wasting her time, but when she opened the door, the new car she had wished for was still sitting there. It worked, she whispered. I was a bit in shock. How did you do something different? I asked. Clara smiled and touched the paint, and then looked at me. I just wanted it really badly, too. Really, really badly. I had a dozen questions, but she wanted to celebrate. Then I remembered I was going to be late for work. Let's do ice cream after. All day, I thought about that damn car. Clara had said she wanted the car, and so it appeared. And it had stayed. Why? Really, really badly. Was the wish so strong that it didn't die? Is that why this car was still here, but the puppy was gone? It made me start to think of a possible way out of the predicament I had with constantly feeding the well. If I could make sure I wished strong enough for Clara to be better, could we have solved this? It made me giddy again, because the trap of the well suddenly felt solvable. We could start making other wishes if we figured out how to make our motivations stronger. That night, just as planned, we went to ice cream. I was eager to give my new plan a try. Unfortunately for me, the universe threw us another curveball when we returned home and we saw a silhouette perched on the doorstep. Is that your mom? I asked as we got closer. I was right. It was Clara's mother, Annalise, and she looked like she had been waiting for at least an hour in the cold for us to return. As we got closer, we saw that she had a black eye. Her clothes were ripped and her hands were shaking. Boys, go inside, I told them. Clara ran to her mom to find out what had happened, but the signs were all there. I brought in a few groceries as Kipton and Angel started tossing a football around the room, listening in on Annalise's conversation with my wife. I didn't have anywhere else to go. Please, just for the day. I'm sober now. We'd heard the song and dance before, but I could see on Clara's face she didn't want to say no. I put down a bottle of apple juice, and the boys' football flew over my head and landed in the well with a plop and a splash. That sound made Annalise pause. What was that? She asked. My face reddened and I hurried to the hatch, closing it quickly. Just a little DIY project, nothing fancy. Grandma, it's so cool, we have our own wishing well, Angel chimed in. I shot him an icy glare. A wishing well? You dug a hole in your living room? Annalise asked. It's more than that, it's magic, Kipton added. Clara laughed nervously. Yeah, it's what made Mom better. That's enough, I snapped. It made them both jump. Clara's mom was looking at us all, a bit confused, trying to figure out why we looked so tense, I'm sure. Boys, go shower, get ready for bed, I ordered. What about our ball? Kipton asked. I'll fish it out later. Clara let Annalise go to the guest room on the other side of the house, and I pulled her aside for a private conversation. Look, I know what you're going through, whatever it is you're dealing with this time, but you can't stay here. We've been through a lot recently, and Clara just started getting better. I don't want any new anxiety in the house, I told her. Her mom gave me a glare. You mean like digging trenches in your house? I swear, Ben, sometimes you're not sane. Who does that? I sighed, realizing she was missing the point. How long do you think you'll be here? I need an answer. You know, Benjamin, I'm sure you think I'm just a hopeless addict, but I am still your wife's mother, she said. I'm clean. You can check my things. I want you out of here as fast as possible. Clean or not, I spat back. Well, if you're going to treat me that way, you might just get your wish, she huffed as she closed the door. I sighed in frustration, a devilish thought lingering in my mind too long. It was too bad I couldn't use a wish to make that happen, I thought as I went back to the children. Sounds like you and Mom are getting along fine as usual, she commented. I really wish you wouldn't let her walk all over you like this, She's using us, I sighed. I don't want her out on the street. That'll just lead her to temptation. At least if she's sleeping here for the night, I can make sure she's safe. I told her I'm calling a halfway house first thing in the morning. I nodded, relieved that we seemed to be on the same page. Then I looked at the hatch and recalled promising I would get Kipton's football. I opened the well up, looking down at the murky water. The brown leather ball bobbed gently in the middle. I couldn't reach to grab it, so I had to go to the garage to grab a rope to suspend myself with. I'm gonna need a little help, I told Clara. We agreed to tie the makeshift pulley to the kitchen island, and I squeezed my upper body into the hollowed-out hole. Within the cramped space, I felt very claustrophobic. I was dangling there, with Clara holding my legs as I strained to grab the football. Jesus, I swear I might just buy him a new one, I muttered as my fingers grazed the ball. The well smelled nasty, too. Musty and full of old metal, like a soggy pair of pants that had pennies stuck in it. I told Clara to lower me a hair closer to grab at the ball, and reached for it again. My fingers gripped it, and I was about to scoop it up when suddenly something under the water grazed my skin. Then that same unseen presence snapped the ball under the water completely. Pull me up, I shouted anxiously. Clara obeyed as I watched the water bubble for a bit and squeeze back to the ground level. I was stuck right at my waist. The water rose a bit, bubbling closer to me. I thought I heard this low, whiny hiss from under the surface. Hold your breath, my wife ordered. With a forceful tug, she pulled me up to the den again. I gasped for air as I tugged at the floor, overwhelmed by the brush with the unseen entity. Annalise stormed into the den. What is all this noise about? She looked down at the hole and then toward me with the rope around my waist. She couldn't help but make a snippy remark about my weight, and she looked down at the water again. That well has more balls than you do. Then she returned to her room. I stood up to close the hatch to the well, still perplexed and mortified by what I had experienced, when I saw something bob up from the water. 2 footballs, perfectly identical to each other. On Monday, after the boys went to school, I decided to pay a visit to Grandpa Gary again. As I mentioned before, he didn't seem to know anything about the secret wishing well we had found. But I figured if anyone knew the history of the house, it had to be him, since he had lived there his whole life. He was in the field with his goats when I got to his house, and waved for me to join him. Off work today? He asked. I've been doing a swing shift. Now that Clara's better, I'd like to have a bit more time at home, I said. It wasn't entirely a lie. But Grandpa had a knowing look on his face. For someone that has a lot to be thankful for, you sure seem to be loaded down, Ben. What's on your mind, boy? I didn't know where to begin. Clearly, I couldn't tell him everything, so I started with the easy stuff. Clara's mom is in town. Again. Stressing us out. I don't want her to have a relapse. It won't be good, I muttered. You can't control what other people do. But it is your house, so it's your rules. Make her mind and set your boundaries. Clara isn't going to kick her out if she misbehaves, though, I pointed out. He spat a little tobacco on the ground. You used to put your foot down a lot more. Something change? I just don't want to be hard on her. Her sickness was a lot to go through, Papa. I like things the way they are, I told him. If you did, we wouldn't be having this conversation. I can see the stress all over your face. Can't hide it. He laughed. I nodded, realizing it wasn't possible to keep it all hidden, so I admitted a little more. I'm scared it's gonna all fall apart. Sometimes I feel like everything's hanging by a thread. Like we broke an egg and now we have the pieces together, but it's hardly staying in place, I admitted. Something's gotta give, Benny, he said knowingly. Look around and figure out what you can cut out that'll make your life better. My first thought was the well. What if the consequences are worse than what I'm dealing with now? I asked. Well, that's life. It's full of risks. It's not like we can just make a wish and all our problems disappear. He laughed. I stared down at the ground. If he only knew the truth, I thought. Papa, you've lived in that house since you were maybe 10? And your dad built it, right? Sure thing. It's been in the family over a century now, he said with a nod. Did you ever feel like, I don't know, like it wasn't a welcoming environment? Like the house was a prison? He sighed. Probably feels that way for Clara, even though she's better. She's been confined for a while now, eh? I nodded. Well, moving won't take the problems away. I don't know what's really going on, Ben. But whatever you need to do to fix it is probably staring you in the face, he advised. I just wish things were different, I admitted with a frustrated laugh. My words were a bittersweet irony. We finished feeding the goats and talked about other things for a bit. And by the end of the talk, I did feel a little better, even if I hadn't really learned anything. When I got home, I saw that Clara had taken her mom clothes shopping and made a decision about the well in her absence. I moved the furniture back into place and covered the hatchback. I was ready to move past this curse, and would deal with the consequences, I decided. About an hour later, Clara and her mom returned, new wardrobe in hand. They were gabbing like old friends, but the minute that Clara saw the wishing well was covered up, her face turned pale. Oh, thank goodness you covered that eyesore up. It was bothering me, Annalise told us. She dropped her bags and said she was going to go grab a nap, leaving Clara to find some answers from me. What are you doing? We need that to keep me going, she said. It's too dangerous. You were right. I was being selfish. We need to stop, I told her. But we can't. Last time, I didn't tell you, but when I woke up, I felt so cold. Like I had been in a coma for a few hours. Ben, it scared me, she admitted. I reached for her hand. We don't need some damn mystical well to fix this. We can figure it out on our own. I just want things to go back to the way they were, I explained. She pulled away. Well, I don't. I gave her a look. Clara, we can't keep feeding it. Yes, we can. We have to. I have to. I don't want to be stuck here in the house all day, every day, she yelled at me. Then she had an angry look on her face, one I hadn't seen in a very long time. You know what? You're right about one thing. You are being selfish. What is that supposed to mean? I snapped back as she slammed a plate down and smashed it on the floor. What it means, Ben, is that you don't get to decide for everyone. This is my house, too. You don't understand. That thing almost killed you before. I think if we keep feeding it, it's gonna destroy us. Well, you know what? Maybe I would rather be dead than be bedridden for the rest of my damn life, Clara shouted. So go ahead. Seal the damn thing back up. You can watch me die tonight. She stormed to our room, and I tried to follow after her, grabbing at her arm. You know I don't want that. I'm scared too. I don't know what will happen if we stop, but we can face it together, I insisted. She pushed me toward the well. Don't try and make this sound like it was a mutual decision, Ben. You're just doing what you always do. You say this is for the best of all of us, and I always listen. But maybe I should stop listening. Maybe what you really want is to have me under your thumb. I was taken aback by this wild talk, and a new realization came into my head. Is all of this coming from your mom? What ideas did she fill your head with this time? I asked. She gave me a few subtle reminders about how all men act. I didn't want to see it. But you're showing your true colors. I threw up my hands in defeat. Fine. You want this so badly? Go ahead. I won't stop you. Throw as much money down that hellhole as you want. Who knows? Maybe you can wish yourself a better husband. I turned to storm away, only to find Annalise standing in the hallway. I hope I'm not interrupting anything, she said as coyly as she could. Clara sighed. Mom, this doesn't involve you. Oh no, I wholeheartedly agree. But when you talk at the top of your lungs, even my old ears can hear everything. Although, I'll admit I haven't a clue what this is all about. A wishing well or something? She said it's none of your business, I said icily. Clara got between us and held a hand against me. Mom, can you help me with dinner? She said, changing the subject. She glared at me and added, We'll talk about this once she leaves. You could cut the tension in the air with a knife at dinner. Clara had made an amazing pot roast, and the kids were talking about the soccer game. But honestly, all I was thinking about was the well. I felt guilty for getting in a fight with her about it because I wondered if she was right. Were we simply doomed to be a slave to this thing for the rest of our lives? Was I wrong to seal it up? As if hearing my thoughts, Kipton asked an innocent question that caused everything to spiral again. Dad, why'd you cover up the well? Are we not making more wishes? Before I got 2 words out, Clara's mom pounced on the subject like a shark in bloody waters. What kind of wishes have you been making? Kipton, not another word, I warned. He meekly backed down. Then Clara chimed in, a bit vindictively. Go ahead, Kip. Tell Grandma about the well. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's none of her business, I repeated. But at the same time as I got those words out, Kipton spilled the beans. Well, first we wished for a puppy, but it died. Then Dad wished for Mom to get better, and now she is. Annalise's eyes sparkled inquisitively as she turned to my wife. Clara, is this true? I was silently pleading to my wife to say nothing. She gave me a steely gaze back. Yes. We don't fully understand how it works, but when we offer a wish to the well, a single, strong wish a day, it comes true for us, she explained. I would love to see that, Annalise responded. I slammed my fist down. It's not up for discussion. What I would love to see is you leaving our house, I said angrily. Annalise didn't even flinch at my response. I'm sure you would. Maybe you should make a wish about it, Benjamin, she teased. Then she focused on her daughter again. Can you show me after dinner? Clara wiped her mouth and kept her eyes straight toward me. Sure, Mom. With pleasure. I stood to the side as I watched them move the furniture again, and opened the seal. The murky waters looked the same as before, perhaps a little higher. It was hard to be sure. I knew it was pointless to argue about letting Clara's mom in on the secret, but as things kept happening, my anxiety levels rose drastically. Every night before bed, we get a coin from the kids' jar and wish for me to feel healthy the next day. Then it goes into the well, Clara explained. Her mom stared down into the black waters. Could I do the honors tonight? She asked. I took a step forward, and she gave me a knowing grin. Ben, I know you think I'm a heartless bitch, and I see the look on your face. You're afraid I'll take away your precious wish for the day. But for once, I think I agree with the choice presented here. My daughter has never looked more full of life than how I've seen her for these past few days, she told me. Hesitantly, I backed away. Clara gave her a coin. Annalise kissed it and then dropped it into the water. That's the power of positive thinking, eh? She said with a laugh. Are we done here? I muttered. Temper, temper, Benjamin. Someone needs to wish for you to lighten up, her mom chided. There's one thing Clara failed to mention, I snapped, glaring at my wife. Should we fail to make a wish, or if we change the wish we make, the previous wish recedes. In her case, it can be life-threatening. Annalise nodded as we closed the hatch back up. So, then why was this sealed away? I said nothing. Even the boys were looking at me for an explanation. I don't have to explain myself to you, I told her. Oh, but I think you do, she snapped back. Clara was a bit surprised by how her mom got in my face. I think I understand why my daughter was so angry with you earlier. You're taking this magic away from her? Who the hell does that? It's not that simple, I told her. Dad, you wanted Mom to be sick again? Angel asked in disbelief. I suddenly felt like they were all ganging up on me, and I was cornered. We can't just keep living our lives like this, I insisted. Annalise laughed. Heaven forbid you'd keep your wife healthy. If I had half a mind, I would drop another coin in this damn well, Ben. And this time, my wish would be for you to drop dead, she snarled. She stormed off to her room, and I huffed in frustration. I looked to Clara for some kind of reassurance, but she was angry too. Then Kipton suddenly punched me in the ribs, and I went down, feeling the wind knocked out of me. As I crumpled to the floor, Clara grabbed him, demanding an explanation. He balled his fist up and had tears streaming down his face. Grandma's right, I hate you. You're so selfish, I hate you. Clara told him and Angel to go to their rooms. Soon, we were alone. Clara, don't you see what this is doing to us? How it's tearing us apart? I muttered. She stood there, a look of pity on her face. You're the one doing that, Ben. She stepped over me to go to bed. Can you help me up? I said, still feeling the ache in my side. Help yourself. It's what you're best at. Oh, and you can sleep out here on the couch tonight. Watch over your precious well. Then she stormed to the bedroom and slammed the door in my face. I grabbed a few blankets from the closet and got in the recliner, staring down at the hatch in the glistening darkness. Grandpa had it right all along. This was Pandora's box. We had let curiosity open it, and now I was losing my family and my sanity. How could I make them see the danger? Or was I wrong? Was the wishing well what we had needed all along? Was this just what we had to do in order to survive? I kept staring at it, dozing off and wondering whether I had been overreacting. In my nightmares, I heard noises coming from the well, and the sound of a heartbeat. I kept waking up and walking over to stare into the well. The murky water stared back up at me. I was terrified of what this was doing to us, overwhelmed with the powerlessness I felt. I sat down again and slid my hands into my pockets to stay warm. The edge of a coin tickled my palms. It would be easy, so very easy to open the hatch and make a wish. Just one little wish. Something that could fix all this and make things better. Before I knew it, I was standing there looking at the water in the darkness. The coin was in my hand. All I had to do was make the wish and drop it. So simple. What would I wish for? Maybe for Clara to realize this was all a mistake? Would the wishing well alter her mind so she didn't want to feed it anymore? Or would it find a way to keep asking for more out of self-preservation? Was it alive? Could it sense when I was about to feed it? It looked hungry. Only one wish a day. That didn't seem fair. This was not Clara's fault, though, I realized. It was her mother. She had snagged her way into the picture and turned my wife against me. Maybe I should wish for her to be gone. Wake up in the morning and poof, she wasn't there. Would that be so bad? All I had to do was make a wish. I heard a trickling voice whisper into my ears. Do it. Make the wish. Feed me. Suddenly, the light in the kitchen went on, and I was rattled back to my senses. Angel was standing in the fridge getting a glass of milk. Dad, what are you doing? My palms were sweaty, I realized. I slammed the hatch closed. Nothing. Go back to bed. When he was out of sight, I tossed the coin into the trash. Somehow I found sleep. Things weren't much better in the morning. When I woke, Annalise was examining the wishing well. A little too much for my liking, so I stood up and got her attention. Morning, Benjamin. I was just thinking it seems like the water level rose overnight. Has it done that before? She asked. I looked down at the dark hole and saw she was right. Once or twice. Don't you have a bus to catch? I mumbled as I closed it up and walked to the kitchen. The boys were up a little after that and made some breakfast, rushing to the school bus after kissing their mom and grandma goodbye. I could see Kip was still angry with me, but I didn't feel up to a confrontation this early, so instead I just told him to have a good day. As the door slammed on me, Annalise whistled softly. Preteens. You'll have your hands full with that one, she commented. Clara smiled and offered her toast. Mom, you should get dressed. We have an appointment to keep, remember? So, about that. I've been doing some thinking since last night, and I think us adults need to talk about the elephant in the room, Annalise commented, winking at me and pointing at the well. What about it? I muttered. Well, it seems to me that the answer to all our problems is just a wish away. Don't you think? She asked. I laughed. I'm being serious. Think about it. This well has given Clara a clean bill of health, and apparently in the past it's had the power to manifest just about anything you desire. The sky is quite literally the limit here. Today you could ask for a new house. Tomorrow, maybe 10 houses. I don't think that would work. A new house would mean the old one is destroyed, so no wishing well. Well, sure, there are probably a few prerequisites, but other than that, what is stopping us? I folded my arms and gave her a cold stare. You're forgetting the part where the previous wish fades away, I commented. So about that. You weren't entirely truthful. Clara mentioned before we settled how your car hasn't vanished, so clearly there must be a method to ensure the wish is permanent, Annalise pointed out. Clara shrugged. It's true. I figured since we let her in about the well, all the cards should be on the table. Maybe if we all put our heads together, we could figure out how to solve this issue, she said. She was a little less mad at me, I could tell. But this whole idea of trial and error, it sounded so risky. You're talking about playing with your life here. That's what's at stake, I argued. All the more reason to be cautious and plan, Benjamin. Obviously, we aren't just going to throw it to the wind. Since we know what happens to Clara, we can make steps to make sure she's safe, her mom responded. How do we do that? My wife asked. I was flabbergasted. You can't seriously be wanting to go along with this. If things go wrong, you could die, I pointed out. You said it yourself. We'll be a slave to this thing unless we can find a way to make the wishes permanent, Clara argued. So, we start with something simple then. For example, today we could make a wish for, say, Clara to no longer be in pain ever. That way it's a more realistic solution, Annalise commented. I mulled it over in my head. I remembered the argument I had the day before and looked at my wife. It's not my decision to make. If you want to give this a try, I'll support you, I said. Clara was a bit surprised by that, but nodded and kissed me. I saw a twinkle in her mom's eye. Well, let's get to wishing then, shall we? Less than 10 minutes later, we were standing around the well, and Clara had found a coin to use. We didn't have any left in the jar, so it took a bit of hunting to find it. We should probably discuss what the wish should be so we can get it right, my wife commented. I could tell she was nervous. I was too. When I made the first wish, I just said, I wish my wife felt better. Nothing complicated. When I realized that it actually worked, I said, I wish my wife could be healthy again. Honestly, I've been wishing for the same thing after that. And you, Clara? Do you remember specifically what made your wish about the car special? Her mama asked. I don't remember the exact wording, but I was tired. And I wanted it really, really badly. I think the wishing well could sense how strong my wish was, she answered. Well, and maybe if all three of us wish for the exact same thing at the exact same time, it could amplify it. Make it permanent, Annalise suggested. It was a sound idea. We all agreed to it and held the coin at the tip of our fingers. Here goes nothing, her mom said. A moment later, we dropped it simultaneously into the well. When it hit the water, our house shook violently for a few moments, catching all of us off guard. That's new, Clara remarked, chuckling nervously. It must have worked then. That's what it means, her mom said, clapping happily. Only time will tell, I told them. The rest of the day, we busied ourselves with the usual stuff. I went to work for a 10-hour shift, just to get my mind off of what might happen. A lingering unease about the wish we'd made was bothering me. I wasn't sure why, though. Surely this meant we would no longer be bound to the shackles the well imposed on us. Deep down, I knew that felt too good to be true. It wasn't until that night I found out for myself just what we'd unleashed. The boys came home, a bit less hateful than in the morning, and sat in the den to do homework. Kipton sighed in frustration as he scratched his math again and muttered, "I wish I was smarter." I wasn't really paying attention. The long day at work and the stress about the well had me exhausted. Angel whispered something in his ear, and I was almost dozing off when I saw them searching the house for the coin jar. Then they discovered an old penny in between some couch cushions. I was too tired to stop them when I saw the hatch open up. I jumped up in a panic, snagging Angel back from the well. He made a yelp and pulled away and ran to his room. I could tell he was still angry with me, and I hoped that their patience would pay off so that we could give them their wishes. Annalise ordered them to handle a different task and keep them occupied. "Find all the coins you can in the house. I think it would be safer if we kept them all in one place." For the next half hour, they did that, seemingly finding none. Then it was time for bed. They ran up to get changed, and a moment later, Kipton screamed again. Despite my exhaustion, I bolted up the stairs. Annalise was behind me. We opened their door, and I held my breath. But there was nothing wrong. A false alarm. "What was that?" I asked skeptically. Then I noticed Angel wasn't there. I looked down the stairs, suddenly realizing what had happened, and raced back there, only to see he had dropped a coin into the well. "Oh, you little brat," Annalise snarled as she reached over to smack him. "Don't touch me or I'll wish it again," Angel snapped back boldly. Her left eye twitched. "Excuse me? Did you just threaten me?" Clara came into the room to see what the argument was about. "Angel made a wish," I said in exasperation. Her face told me she knew the implications of that. Her voice cracked, and she asked Angel what he wished for. I'm sick and tired of Dad being so mean, so I wish for a better dad," he growled. I felt a lump in my throat. Kipton snickered in the back near the stairs. "Both of you are grounded. No games, no sports for the rest of the week," Clara said. "Mom!" Angel shrieked. "Go to your room before I make it 2 weeks." Reluctantly, they complied. I stared down at the well, that lump in my throat refusing to leave. "We need another coin. We need to make sure that wish doesn't come true tonight," I said frantically. Clara and her mom didn't hesitate to help me search for something. We stripped the whole house, checking drawers and under shelves, but there wasn't a single coin anywhere. After almost 2 hours of turning the house upside down, I felt an overwhelming sense of dread settle into my bones. "God damn it," I shouted as I tossed a drawer out of the way. I saw Angel at the middle of the stairs. "You're supposed to be in your room," I reminded him angrily. "I didn't do it," he meekly responded. I stopped in my frantic search and turned to look him in the eye. What do you mean?" "I didn't make that stupid wish," he answered. I went to him, grabbed him, shaking him almost like a rag doll. "Why the hell would you lie about something like that? Answer me!" "I just wanted to scare you," he shouted, pulling back and going toward his room. "Just leave me alone." He slammed the door, and I let out a long sigh. Annalise shook her head. "I think you should go to an ATM. Break a 20. We need coins, just to be safe." And so that's what I did. All the time as I went to the service station, I thought about that wish. If Angel had done it, and we didn't stop it, would I have died or vanished? The simple thought made me push down my foot on the accelerator. Half an hour later, I had converted $10 into coins, and I was back. Annalise and Clara had been guarding the well. We made the same strong wish again, but this time the ground didn't shake. Had it worked? Was Clara safe now? "We need to be here tonight. Take shifts," Annalise decided. I said I would go first, since I was the most exhausted. "Check on me in a few hours," I told Clara. I pulled my chair right up to the edge of the well, planting my feet firmly on top of the seal. Even though I was right next to it, I still didn't feel any safer. I wouldn't feel that way until I was certain the wish we'd made had worked. An hour later, Clara shook me awake. "Ben, you were snoring," she said, looking at my weary eyes. "Oh, guess I'm not much of a first watch," I said groggily. "It's fine. I don't think anyone could have lifted you from that chair even if they tried," she said as she told me to go get in bed. I nodded and started up the stairs, thinking how ready I was for this all to be over. But would it ever really be? If this wish worked, it would just mean that her and her mom and the boys would want more. What if the next wish backfired? Or the one after that? I stood there next to the bathroom door and looked down the steps, wondering if there was a way to just destroy the damn thing. Then, I thought I saw two eyes glistening in the darkness. Kipton? Was he standing there watching me? I didn't say a thing. I just went for a quick bathroom break and waited to see if the eye shine would disappear. A few seconds later, it did, and I heard his door softly click shut. What had he been doing? Was he watching and listening, waiting for a chance to sneak down to the well? If I hadn't seen him, would he have tried to make a wish? I laid down even more troubled than before. Angel had threatened to hurt his grandmother just so he could get a wish. It had been an empty threat, but what if it hadn't been? What if the next time the wish came true? Somehow, despite my terrified thoughts, I managed to get some sleep. In the morning, I only wanted to be sure that the wish we had made for Clara had come true. Instead, when I got to the bottom of the stairs, I saw her laying face down on the floor, her arm outstretched towards the open hatch. I raced to her side, shouting her name. A few moments later, Annalise was there, wrapping a robe around herself as she saw her daughter on the floor. "Oh my God. We need to call 911, I said as I reached for my phone. Annalise shook her head as she checked her daughter. "Get her in the car. We can get her there faster than an ambulance," she ordered. I grabbed her by one end and her mom went to the other. We carried her limp body to the garage and I helped her get into the passenger side door. I ran to the other side, scrambling to get my keys out. In my haste, I dropped them, cussing to myself. I got in a second later and tried to crank it. The engine whined, refusing to cooperate. "Come on, damn it," I said, slamming my hand against the steering wheel. "Ben?" I heard Annalise say as I tried again. The car wasn't starting, and I could feel my head spinning. "Ben!" Annalise shouted as she checked Clara's pulse. "She's gone." I stopped hitting the wheel and looked at my wife. I saw no life in her eyes. No. I scrambled and checked her, not wanting to believe it. A dark and twisted thought snuck into my head. I got out of the car and headed inside in a rush. I heard Annalise call out to me, but I wasn't listening. I had only one thing on my mind. I ran up to Kipton and Angel's room, slamming the door open. The two boys were just piddling around on their tablets and jumped a bit when they saw me. "Do you still have that coin?" I asked, my voice hardly sounding like my own. "What? What's going on?" Kipton asked. "The coin, the one you found inside the couch this morning. Where is it?" I shouted. "I don't know, I put it somewhere. It's mine anyway," he said with a shrug. I snagged him up and forced him to look at me. "Where is it?" "Get off of me," Kipton said, trying to punch me again. "I don't have time for this. I need that coin," I said as I guarded myself and then shoved him back on the bed. My eyes darted around his room and I saw his little coin jar on the nightstand. I shook it out and held it like it was my only lifeline. Angel tried to stop me from taking it, grabbing my arm as I went back. I pushed him and he almost fell down the stairs. I ran to the den, hurriedly opening the hatch as I saw Clara's mom carrying her inside and placing her on the couch. Angel and Kipton said nothing when they saw what had happened to her. I opened the seal, said the frantic wish for Clara, and dropped it into the well. As soon as it fell into the water, I darted my eyes to my wife, but nothing happened. I pushed Annalise out of the way, grabbing at her. Please don't leave us," I whispered. "Ben, just stop. She's gone." Her mom screamed as she held back tears. I pushed my hand against her chest, trying desperately for anything to work. But nothing happened. I was holding an empty shell. I stepped back, trying to hold back tears. I heard the boys whispering, trying to figure out what had happened. Then, as I sat there feeling literally dead inside, Clara's body began to shake. My eyes darted to her face, and I saw her eyes roll back. She shaked even harder and started to gag. A moment later, she turned her head, gasping, and spat up bile and blood on the floor. I rushed to her side, trying to stop my tears. Red and black rings surrounded her irises. I didn't stop holding her. I settled Clara into bed upstairs. She didn't say a word as I tucked her in and got her some food and drinks. I sent Annalise to take the boys out while I got her settled. Maybe a movie or something will help get their mind off of everything, I said weakly as I touched her cheek. Clara was unresponsive. She still felt cold. The blood was still slowly pumping through her body. How do you feel? Are you in pain? Did it hurt a lot? Again, no answer. She looked weak. Like she had seen the other side and my frantic wish had yanked her back. How long were you? I couldn't even finish the sentence. I wasn't sure I wanted an answer. I stood up, again feeling powerless. I'm sorry all of this happened. I'm gonna make it right, I told her as I walked to the door. Ben? Her voice was just a little whisper, and I turned back to her. In the dim light, her silhouette looked ghoulish. Don't feed it any more wishes. I decided then and there I was going to get rid of the well. I started gathering boards to hammer over the seal. Anything to keep it from being misused. As I did, I couldn't help but feel as if the well was larger than before. Had it grown wider? Were my eyes playing tricks on me? As I got to work, I heard Annalise and the boys enter the house, giddy and laughing like nothing crazy had even happened that morning. When Annalise saw what I was doing, she told the boys to go up and play video games. Ben, what are you doing? She asked. What does it look like? Make sure this damn thing is never used again. If I get a cement mixer in here to flood it, I would, I told her. So that's it then? You're just gonna shove your children's dreams down a drain? I stopped hammering and looked up at her. What are you talking about? Did you not see what happened this morning? It's true, there were setbacks. I pushed myself up to my feet and leveled my gaze at her as I snapped back. Setbacks? Setbacks? I saw my wife fucking die this morning. Annalise took a step back, shaken by my outburst. You can't pin this on me. Clara knew the risks. She went along with it. I started to get back to work, but she just kept rambling. You know, whatever that thing is upstairs, it's not your wife. Your little wish didn't bring her back. All you did was just bring evil into this house. I think I did that when I said you could stay, I snapped back. Speaking of which, I think it's time for you to leave. She crossed her arms, looking struck by my offensive words. Clara and the boys need me now more than ever. This time, I got in her face. Trust me, nobody needs you. All you are is just a washed-up, pathetic junkie. I've been clean. But I cut her off before she gave another excuse. I see the way you look at that well. It's like you're seeing a shot of heroin and you can't wait to stick the needle in your arm. Oh, this is me doing an intervention. I want you out of my house. Annalise said nothing, undoubtedly ashamed by my blunt statements. She looked down at the ground and nodded. Fine. Pack my things. She passed me a 20, almost robotically. You should probably go get the boys something to eat. We were so excited to get home, I forgot about pizza. I hesitated, thinking this was a lure to get me out of the house. Don't worry about your precious well. I couldn't get that up even if I wanted to. Besides, we don't have any coins left, remember? She said with a scoff as she marched to the guest room. I was glad she didn't know about the roll of quarters. I went ahead and finished placing the final board over the well, just to be safe before I left. After pizza, I got a call from work, so I asked if Annalise could watch the boys just a little bit. Only for a few hours. Clara still isn't back to her usual self, I said. She nodded, a little distracted as she was packing. I felt a little guilty for lashing out at her, especially because she'd kept her word and hadn't tried to access the wishing well. But this was serious. I wanted my life back. I needed her to see things my way. So I didn't push any buttons and left to work without a word. I hoped that by the time I returned, she would be ready to depart and Clara would be okay as well. It was late when I got home. The shift I covered transformed from 2 hours into 4. When I pulled up into the garage, I couldn't help but notice that the door was wide open. Had the boys gone outside? I stepped into the house and called out. Then my shoe crunched down on a glass bottle and I took a look at the floor. There were beer bottles scattered everywhere, along with a few packs of cigarettes. I walked to the den, seeing Annalise laying on the floor next to the well. There were used needles all around and more bottles. Some of it dissolved into powder the moment I touched it, showing where the source of it came from. The well. Somehow, she had used brute force to pry apart the boards I had nailed into the floor. I could see trickles of blood around her nails showing the lengths she had gone to in order to make a wish. She had a few stray coins next to her hand, and I felt my heart pounding as I stepped toward her. "What did you do?" I screamed as I shook her awake. She looked like she had used the entire time I had been gone to get high. "Ben, you're back," she said, her eyes clearly dilated. I dropped her and ran up the stairs, immediately thinking of Clara. Running to the bedroom, I grabbed my wife. "Claire, are you okay?" She looked like she had just been sitting there upright in a stupor all day. She didn't make a response, staring off into the void. I heard Annalise enter the room, rambling about the justifications for her actions. Finally, Clara stopped staring and answered me, nodding her head almost robotically. "I'm fine," she insisted. Annalise laughed. "There, you see? Told you I knew what I was doing. The precious little doll is still functioning." I was seething with anger, following her back to the bottom of the stairs. She grabbed a half-empty bottle of Jack Daniels and swigged it down. I was trying my best not to let my emotions get the better of me. "Looks like you couldn't keep your word," I said as I looked at the chaos. She wagged her finger knowingly. "Let me guess. Want to shout in my face again how awful I am?" I sighed. "No, Annalise. I just want you to leave. Do you have your things packed?" She took another drink. "You know what? I don't think I will be leaving," she decided as she sat down near the well and dropped in another coin. I heard a low noise. It sounded like a whistle or a popping of some kind. Then, she reached down into the well and took out another pack of cigarettes. "A little damp, but they do the trick." She laughed excitedly. "I'm not asking you. You're leaving or I'm gonna make you leave," I said firmly. She looked up at me, a blank look on her face. Then she laughed again. "I think you're so tough. Good thing Clara has a man like you around to protect her, huh? You know what I think? I think you're a man-child. This isn't about the wishes, it's about your masculinity. You're threatened because I took away what you were holding for yourself." I snatched her up by the arm, forcefully holding her near me. She pushed me away and revealed a sharp blade in her right hand, slicing my arm across the side as she wielded it madly. "Another gift from the well. Amazing how eagerly it fulfills my wishes, isn't it? Clara was right. All you have to do is want it bad enough," she spat. "You're insane," I said as I nursed my wound and looked at the mess she'd made. "Maybe I am, Ben. Or maybe I'm finally getting everything I ever wanted," she snickered. Then she tossed another coin in, and the well hissed again, and she pulled out a bottle of wine. "It's like I said before. We should celebrate." I heard Angel and Kipton from the other room, banging against the door. "You locked them away?" I asked in shock. She shrugged, holding the knife. "I kept wanting stupid shit. This well's too powerful to be wasted on ponies and video games, she scoffed. I let them out and saw their frightened eyes. I needed to think of some way to put a stop to this. But for the moment, I could tell that she held all the cards. Have it your way. You're in charge now. What do you want us to do? I asked as I held my boys close. A wicked look came over her face. I think you've overstayed your welcome, Benjamin. Get your stuff and go. My mouth felt dry, and I tried to stay calm. Fine. We'll go. I can stay with my grandfather a few days. Is that what you want? Oh, the boys can stay here. I'll take good care of them. I just want you gone. She smirked. Then she played with another shiny quarter and dangled it near the well's edge. That's not going to be a problem. Is it, Benjamin? She whispered with a steely gaze. I met her energy and sighed in frustration. She had won this round. No, not a problem at all. I packed a few things and explained to Clara what was going on as briefly as I could. Annalise watched the whole affair, and my wife said little to nothing, still staring into the void like a child seeing it for the first time. I wondered how much she understood was happening. Ever since I had brought her back from the brink, she was completely checked out. I could just call the police, I warned as I grabbed the backpack I'd stuffed. Annalise didn't even flinch at my threat. Sure, go ahead. Before they get here, I'll make a wish so powerful that your balls will fall off, she snickered. I clenched my fists and kissed my boys. They weren't mad at me anymore, just scared about what was happening. No need to worry. They're going to get to reap this reward too. Now that we don't have you breathing down our necks, we can truly live, she cackled. I could see they were more than a bit hesitant to trust their grandmother, but I knew my boys were smart. They would find a way to survive. I left that afternoon feeling like I was carrying the weight of the world on my shoulders. Clara watched from the upstairs window, and I felt my heart break. I knew I would do everything in my power to set this right. Grandpa Gary didn't ask many questions at first when I showed up at his doorstep. I guess this means that dinner's off the table, he said with a mild smile as he helped me settle into his guest room. He told me to make myself comfortable as he had errands to run in town. Even though there was nothing to be done, I couldn't simply relax. All I could think about was how Clara's mom was now abusing the power of the well. She had already gone too far, constantly using it for selfish indulgences again and again. She didn't know the well would always ask for more. She hadn't hurt them yet, but if she didn't get her way, I was terrified of how far she would go to keep her wishes alive. When Grandpa returned, he settled down to watch some football and told me to catch a chair. I tried to say nothing for a while, fidgeting with my fingernails as he sipped a cold beer. I thought about my sons at the mercy of a mad woman hell-bent on getting her way. I need to do something, Papa. I shouldn't be here, I finally decided. What's this all about, anyway? I never known you and Claire to have problems, not ever. He was right, and I was ashamed at how the power of the wishes had driven a wedge between us. I opened that hatch. There was something evil inside. Just like you said. He stopped drinking his beer and turned down the volume on his game. What was it? I told him about the wishing well and its power, both the good and the bad. He listened and asked a few questions. I could see his face grow dark when I mentioned how Kipton had gotten hurt. I didn't even want to talk about Clara, too afraid of what it meant. When I finished my explanation, he sat back, very thoughtful. Then he stood up, grabbed his hat, and started walking outside. Papa, where are you going? I asked. Gotta feed the goats, was all he said. I followed him, a bit puzzled that he didn't ask more questions. Something was bothering him about the story I had told, but I couldn't be sure what. Papa, what do you think I should do? Do you think there's a way to stop it? I asked as I walked alongside him. He focused on feeding, not answering me. His eyes looked hazy and troubled. He was daydreaming about something, and paying me no mind. I felt as though I had seen that look before, like when Kipton had first been tempted to make a wish. You know something about this, don't you? I said. He ignored me, pushing forward to the next pen. I grabbed his arm and forced him to look at me. "If you know something, you have to tell me," I begged him. A tear trickled down his right cheek. "That's the trouble, Ben. I don't know. I can't remember." He struggled to find the words to explain it. "It's this bad dream. What you're saying to me, I could see myself there as a young boy standing over a well like that. My father told me not to cast a coin. I couldn't resist. But was that a dream? I thought it was. I thought I made it up. I asked him once what it meant. He smiled and told me that he made it all go away." I was a bit perplexed by his confession, trying to piece together the broken fragments of the memory that was flooding into him. "Your father must have made a wish that you would forget about the well. And then he did." Grandpa looked confused, stumbling about the pen as he tried to shake it out of his head. I could see what he was likely conjuring up was making me hysterical, but that only confirmed what I had to do. I went and grabbed my backpack, hurrying to get home. My heart raced as I pulled into the driveway. The house looked so different than before. It didn't feel like a home. I knocked on the door, preparing myself for the resistance I would face. I had only a single coin in my pocket. I would need to make sure that this wish counted. Annalise opened the door. She looked so much different. The bags under her eyes were gone, and she had a youthful glow. Her hair was trimmed and her nails done. The wishing well was fulfilling every little desire she had. "Benjamin, why didn't you call?" she asked. "I wanted to talk face to face," I told her. She didn't budge from the doorway. "Well, here you are. Talk." "I'm sorry for what I said before. I was wrong about you. I was wrong about a lot of things," I explained. She liked what she was hearing and prodded me to go on. "I don't care about the wishing well anymore. It's only caused hurt for my family. Clearly, it's working for you, so I'm just going to let you stay here. I want to get them and leave," I explained. "It's very kind of you, Benjamin, but I honestly don't think your children want anything to do with you." I spotted Angel behind her and tried to get his attention, but she closed the door a bit more. "We're happy now, Dad. Happier than we've ever been," he said in a robotic voice. It looked like he was hardly a shell of his former self. I couldn't play nice anymore. I forced my way in to see my son. He didn't show any emotion, and I frantically thought that maybe something had happened to him, the same as Clara. "He's fine. I just gave him a few wishes and then asked the well to make him happy for the rest of the day," Annalise said dismissively. My heart dropped. "You can't just treat them like puppets." She scoffed and told Angel to find Kipton, and remarked, "Honestly, you should be thanking me. If I keep wishing like this, then you'll have 2 perfect little gentlemen soon enough. If you ask me, it's high time they were handled. The well is simply expediting the process." Kipton arrived a moment later, a worried look on his face as he checked his brother. "Dad, please make this stop," he whispered. I slipped him the coin I came in with and turned to Annalise, thinking of a way to end this madness. "When do they get to make their own wishes? You've been promising that for quite a while. Haven't seen it happen a single time." Again, she scoffed. "That's because you haven't been here. But if you want an example, sit down and watch. Kipton, go ahead. It's your turn to make a wish." He looked at me, perhaps wondering what I wanted him to do. "Go ahead, son. Make a wish. Make it count," I said. He stood at the edge of the well, looking at the water. I hoped he would see what I had written carefully on the slip of paper that the coin was wrapped around. His eyes saw it, and he immediately had a spark of recognition. He kissed the coin hurriedly and tossed it down the well. For a moment he stood there, staring at the well. I wasn't sure what I expected to happen next, but when the ground started shaking again, I saw Annalise's eyes widen with fear. "The fuck? What is going on? Kipton, what did you wish for?" The well groaned. It began to shrink ever so slightly. The hissing grew loud, and Annalise immediately panicked, snatching Kipton up. "The hell are you doing? What is happening?" she snarled. Another coin rippled across the floor, and she reached to grab it. Kipton was faster, and the two began to fight over it. I watched as the wishing well continued to shrink. In a few short moments, it might be completely gone. "You sniveling piece of shit. I give you a silver platter for anything you want, and this is how you repay me? I wish you were never born, you little brat," Annalise snarled. I went to grab her, but before I could, she took the knife she'd been keeping for security and accidentally stabbed Kipton in the shoulder. He lost his grip on the coin. Instinctively, I went to his side as the house kept shaking. In the heat of the moment, the coin tumbled from her hands and rolled across the floor. All of us watched as it circled near the open maw of the well. It slipped in before it vanished entirely under the bubbling water. Kipton groaned again, louder this time, as it stopped from disappearing, and I looked at Annalise in desperation, and then at Kipton. "Dad, I can't feel," he said, grabbing my shirt. A second later, he fainted to the floor. "Kipton," I shouted. His eyes went dull. The color in his face faded. Then I watched before my eyes as his body changed. His hair shrank into his scalp and his neck broke. His fingers pulled into his hands and his arms receded. He was getting younger rapidly by the second. I kept hearing Annalise screaming frantically, but it all happened so fast. Before I could react, his body started to melt into sludge between my fingers. The world felt numb and empty for a long, cruel moment. I didn't even hear Annalise rambling as she searched for a coin. I turned to look at her, all her bravado and pompous attitude gone. "We can fix this. We just need to make another wish. We can bring him back, just like you did with Clara," she insisted frantically. I was too scarred by what had just happened to even vocalize a response. A second later, Annalise spotted my wife at the bottom of the stairwell and jumped in fright. What is going on?" Clara asked. Her eyes were bloodshot and filled with tears. Annalise kept babbling. "Clara, you have to understand this was an accident. I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to." My wife walked into the den, staring at the tinier wishing well and then looking at all the useless junk that her mother had been wishing for. Most of it was already ash, crumpled or discarded. Finally, Annalise found a coin, holding it up like it was a godsend. "Here, take it, Clara. Make a wish and bring Kipton back. Only you can do it, only you," she said. Her voice was barely a whisper. Clara looked down at the coin, then at the well. Kipton is gone?" she asked. I stood up, trying to hold back more tears. "I'm sorry, Clara. I'm sorry, it's my fault," Annalise fumbled, and kicked at the stuff she'd been abusing and tried to hug her daughter. Clara didn't react. She just stood there as still as a statue. "It's gonna be okay, Clara. We're gonna get him back," her mom said as she touched her face. Clara grabbed her hand. "No." Annalise pulled away, confused. "No? Clara, this is your son." She reached for the coin. "I'll do it myself, then." Abruptly, Clara's hand grabbed at her throat, throttling her mother against the wall. A portrait of our family smashed to the floor as her fingers squeezed at Annalise's windpipe. I heard my mother-in-law gasp for air, watched in abject shock as Clara lifted her from the ground, keeping her pinned against the wall. Claire, stop. Please, please," I heard her beg. She looked to me with desperation and dread. She could hardly get any words out at all, her lips mouthing for my help as I saw my wife's eyes flood into darkness. Clara was drawing blood, her fingers digging into her mom's neck as I realized she was about to kill her. I stood up. Clara, that's enough," I shouted. My voice seemed to draw her back. She dropped her mom to the floor, the older woman gasping and coughing up blood. Clara turned to me, a bit of the blood smearing her face as she looked blankly towards the stairs. Then she returned back to the bedroom. I stood there watching her leave, and then feeling overwhelmed with the pain of Kipton's death. My mother-in-law kept gasping, crying as she crawled to the couch. "Ben, I'll do anything. Anything to make this right." I closed my eyes, trying to hold back tears. "Leave. Now." She stood up, gasping, bobbing her head and mumbling about getting her stuff. I shouted in her face just to go, and she ran out the front door with a whimper. Everything felt so empty, so horrifying, so raw all at once. Then I collapsed on the floor and cried my eyes out. I went upstairs next, the grief of Kipton being gone lingering in the air as I went to our bedroom. Our other son Angel didn't seem to have been affected by the fact he couldn't find his brother. The bizarre wish his grandma had put on him clearly still having an effect on his emotions. The damn wishing well had taken so much from me. I had to try to salvage what I had left. Clara was in the shower, standing under the water in a daze, like she was still truly dead or had simply died inside because we just lost our firstborn. I stared at her, wanting so badly to hold her next to me. "Your mom left. She won't be coming back," I told her. Clara looked at me. She didn't seem to have any emotion left in her body. "Please, say something. Tell me what you're feeling." She got out and dripped on the floor, staring at her reflection like it was the first time she'd seen herself. "What do I feel?" She repeated my question as she stared off into oblivion. "I feel nothing, Ben." I was going to draw her to me to comfort her. I held her next to my body. She stood there like a statue, not responding. I was struggling to find some balance in all this. "Let me cook you some food. You look sick. This is a lot to process." "I'm not hungry," she answered. "You haven't eaten today." "Ben, I haven't eaten in days," she snapped back. My heart started pounding again as she walked to her closet, touching her clothes. Every movement she made was cold and devoid of life. "I used to love this dress. It looked so beautiful on me. I would get so excited when I could fit it." "Do you know what I feel now?" My mouth became dry. "Nothing. I don't feel anything, Ben. I can't laugh. I can't cry. I can't eat. I don't drink. I don't even feel pain." She turned to me, her face blank as she exclaimed, "My son died, and I don't feel a goddamn thing." Somewhere in the house, I heard Angel cry. I looked at her apologetically, but she didn't even attempt to fake an emotion. I found Angel in the kitchen holding a photo frame of our family. Somehow, Kipton was no longer in the picture. The wish was even altering reality to erase our son, I realized, as I asked Angel what was wrong. "Dad, what happened? Why is Kipton gone? Why don't I remember anything?" he whimpered. He looked around like a scared animal, making sure his grandmother was gone. Then he called for his brother, and I couldn't hold back tears as he stepped into the slime that was left. "Dad? Did the well do all this? It took Kipton away?" he sobbed. "Grandma made a bad wish. She's not going to hurt us anymore." His eyes focused on the wishing well. I noticed that the water was nearly at the surface now. Every wish Annalise had made was bubbling over and suffocating us with her selfish actions. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I let this happen," I told him as I hugged Angel tight. We held each other and cried for a solid minute. Then Angel whispered in my ear the same dark thought as his grandmother. "We can bring him back, right?" I tried my best not to overreact, thinking of how adversely Clara was handling her return. How much worse would it be for Kipton? "No, we can't. I'm sorry." Angel pushed me away. "Why not? You did it for Mom." "It's not that easy this time," I said, fumbling with my words. He started punching me in the chest. "I hate you. I hate you so much." I couldn't help but try to hold him, He clawed away from me, running to his room. I called his name, trying to stop him, sighing in frustration as I got up and looked at the mess. Bits of flesh and bone melted into the floorboards were just bitter and terrifying reminders of the power that had been abused. Amid the slosh of bodily fluids, the single coin that Annalise had offered to my wife glistened tantalizingly. I bent over and picked it up, almost tempted to make another wish. Then, angrily tossed it across the room. Maybe I am no better than Annalise, I thought to myself, as I cried myself to sleep. In my dreams, I was inside the well. I could hear the voices of my family above me, bickering over whether to draw me back from the other side. In the void, I couldn't see or hear or feel anything. Nothing except hopelessness. It was endless and eternal blackness that stretched in every direction. Then their bickering stopped, and they started wishing for other things. The well hissed and swirled around me. I found myself being pushed into the sludgy water, barely gasping for air as it drowned me. I struggled and pushed back to the surface, scrambling and clawing towards the edge as I saw Angel standing there. His eyes were black and lifeless. He dropped coin after coin into the well, the water surging faster and faster as I was pulled under until it swallowed me whole. I woke with a start, sweaty and mortified. I looked down at my body, seemingly covered in grime from the well. Had that been only a nightmare? Or was it a vision of the future? In the midst of the grime that surrounded the wishing well, I saw the damp piece of paper I had given to Kipton. Wish it away. I had told him to make this stop, and he had almost succeeded. I stood up to find the coin, resolved to make a wish. This time to do what I needed to. I was on my hands and knees searching for the coin. I couldn't find it anywhere. But I didn't stop until I saw 2 feet at the entrance to the den. I looked up and saw Angel was standing at the well. The coin I'd been searching for was in his hand. The well was bubbling, eager to accept the offering. Angel, look at me. I crouched and turned toward him. He stretched out his hand. Please don't do it. Please don't. Then the coin fell. I dove, trying to stop it. But it was too late. The water splashed for a moment, and then became still. It turned as dark as oil. Angel leaned over to see if anything was happening. Something pushed its way out from the oily mess, startling him as he took a step back. It grabbed a hold of the side of the floorboard, pulling itself towards the surface. The thing was covered in black, oozing slime as it crawled onto the floor, crouched on all fours and wheezing into the air. Slowly, the oil slipped away, revealing skin and tissue, bone and marrow, organs being formed. Its eyes transformed from hollow sockets to glowing green irises, its fingers stretching and extending. Soon the goop was on the floor, revealing the naked form of my oldest son, his newly formed body shaking, trembling as he tried to find his footing. Kip, you're back, Angel said, excitedly running to him. He wrapped his arms around the slimy, newborn Kipton, and the two embraced. I knew you'd come back. I just knew it, Angel whispered. Kipton said nothing, almost robotically putting his hands around Angel and then looking up at me. What I saw in those eyes told me one thing. Whatever was standing before me now, it was not my son. You should go clean up. We should celebrate, I said, as I watched the husk that bore my son's skin stand up, still shaking from its new birth. I was trying my best to make it seem that I was not overwhelmed by this horrifying turn of events. Kipton walked past me up the stairs to his room, and Angel was about to follow, only caring about the fact that he thought his brother was back. I held him back, scared to see them leave alone together. At the stairs, Clara saw Kipton, neither even cracking a smile or having a gleam of life in their eyes. They shared an unspoken understanding now, and it terrified me even more so. Angel ran to her, excitedly explaining how he had brought his brother back. "The well can give us anything we want now. We never have to be apart," he declared. Clara gave a false smile, holding her son and staring at the grimy oil surrounding the wishing well. "Isn't that wonderful, Mom? I want you to make a wish," Angel squeaked. She focused on him, keeping her fake tears flowing. "I don't know what I would wish for, baby," she admitted. "Anything you want. And when we run out of coins, we can wish for more wishes." Angel cackled excitedly. He was drunk with power, the overwhelming urge to keep feeding the well too much for him to handle. He showed her how he seemingly had found yet another coin and passed it to her, encouraging her to go to the well and make a wish. Clara took it, staring blankly down at the well. I held my breath, trying to envision what she might do. Instead, though, after an excruciatingly long silence, she turned back to our youngest son and gave him the coin. "I don't want to make any more wishes," she decided flatly. Angel looked confused, watching as she walked back upstairs to our room. But his befuddled expression didn't last long when he saw Kipton had returned, put on clean clothes, and was ready for a game of basketball. Even though he now resembled the Kipton I remembered more closely, I still felt uneasy as he walked across the room, finding their ball over near the back door. "Why don't you two go play a few rounds? I'll clean up here," I told them. Angel was all too eager to do that, and once he and Kipton were in the front of the garage bouncing the ball, I started my plan to make good use of the coin that he'd offered to Clara. I found she had placed it down on the kitchen counter before she left upstairs, and sighed in relief, glad I did not have to attempt another awkward and panicked search. "Good riddance," I told the wishing well, as I made the fateful wish of being rid of it, and let the coin drop into the water. I stared down at the water, waiting for something to happen. But nothing did. "It's not how it works anymore." I nearly jumped out of my skin, not even hearing Kipton had re-entered the house. The basketball they had found was flat, held against his arms as he walked toward me, blankly remarking, "I'm a part of it now." I stumbled with words, but instead of being upset, he took a kitchen knife from the butcher block on the kitchen island and slit his wrist. Blood trickled from the open wound, and he dribbled it over the well, the strange waters bubbling like normal and revealing a fresh, new basketball for them to play with. As he grabbed it from the well, he looked at me inquisitively, no doubt seeing the horror on my face. "You want me to make a wish for you?" he asked. I said nothing, grabbing a hold of the kitchen table and holding myself there to keep myself from feeling faint. Kipton took a step toward me. "What's wrong, Dad? Isn't this what you wanted?" I fumbled with my open palm and grabbed the knife he had just wielded, holding it between us for self-defense. He didn't stop walking, the knife pressing right into his chest cavity. I let go of the handle, my mouth agape as I saw it had stabbed him almost to the heel of the blade. He didn't show any signs of pain as he looked down at the wound, using his hands to pull the blade out and look at it curiously. I was sure he was going to use it against me next. Then I heard Angel call him from outside, and the darkness in his eyes faded away. He placed the blade down on the kitchen island, walking past me without a word. I kept looking at the knife, covered in blood and the same oily material that had birthed him from the well. The implications of this newfound gift were clear. How the hell was I supposed to stop this madness now? May all your wishes come true. I've never really thought much about that phrase, and what it means. Not until I was given the opportunity to grant my own wishes, and see them come to life. Yet nothing good has come from the power I had been given. My wife had lost the will to live. My son was gone entirely, replaced by a hollow and dangerous copycat version of himself. I wish none of this had ever happened. But now, the power to create a wish had been stripped from me. There has to be a way I can trick him, I thought as I watched Kipton and Angel play together. Although he was acting more like my real son, I could see everything was a performance. Almost as though an unseen force was pulling strings, treating Kipton like a puppet. Angel ran inside, looking exhausted and thirsty, asking for a drink. I calmly went to the fridge, noting that it was empty inside. Sorry, I think we'll have to order out tonight, I admitted. That sucks. Wish we could have Burger King, he muttered. I mulled over those words, thinking of how potent they were. Behind him, Kipton walked in the door. He had a strange look on his face. Once again, he walked robotically, pushing past us as if we weren't even there. We watched as he dripped blood into the cauldron like before, his eyes turning black, and then, from out of nowhere, the food Angel had wished for manifested. Oh my god, that's so cool, Angel said, grabbing the burger and tasting it without hesitation. This is so good, Dad. You should make a wish next. Kip, what are you gonna wish for? Kipton was silent at first, his body still softly shaking from the power that came from him. I can't. My ears perked up, and Angel took notice too, immediately asking, You can't? What do you mean? The darkness in his eyes receded, and he focused on Angel. There are limits. Limits? To the wishes? What kind of limits? I could tell that he wasn't comfortable answering this question. It's not important. Eat your food. We went to the couch, and Angel started to eat and watch TV. My mind was racing as I thought about what the thing in Kipton's skin had said. Limits. That meant there were wishes he couldn't fulfill. I started thinking back over all the wishes that we'd had become real. Most of them had been temporary, and transient if we didn't keep feeding the well the same wish over and over. The ones that stayed alive were because we wanted them badly. I'd like to wish for something, I piped up just as he took a seat. His face looked still, perhaps even frightened by what I might wish for. I would like to wish for a new house. A new house? He repeated. A bigger house. One with bigger rooms. And a garden outside. Closer to the beach. We don't need this one anymore. I watched his reaction to see if my theory was right. For the first time since he'd been reborn, he looked disturbed. I'm afraid that's not possible. Why not? I'd like a new house too. Get rid of this one, Angel insisted. If we get a new house, there'd be no wishing well, Kipton admitted. His eyes were now angry. He viewed me as a threat. Immediately, I thought of what to do. Ah, right. That's another limit. It's too bad. I wish we didn't need it. Kipton stood up, crushing the glass he had been holding in his bare hands. Take it back. His voice was not my own. I felt a chill in the air. Angel was worried now, trying to figure out what was wrong. Angel, don't you wish that we didn't need the well? I asked my son. The entity stood between me and Angel. Do not make that wish, it growled. I focused on my son, my heart beating like a drum as I encouraged the opposite. I thought we could wish for whatever we wanted, I challenged. His skin looked like it was rippling with fire. Foam and spit dribbled from his mouth. We need the well, the voice rattled. It was old and ancient and raspy. The house shook gently, the lights flickering. Angel looked at me, frightened. Dad, I don't like this anymore. Make it stop. I clenched my fists and focused on the demon. Hear that? We want to make a wish. I took a breath. I wish. The demon screamed, bolting on top of me. Its skin burnt to molten ash as it let go of the human flesh it wore, doubling in size. The demon grew and transformed, digging its nails into my body as it tried to kill me, bashing my head against the ground, its slimy claws around my neck. I was gasping for breath, my vision blurring. I thought of how Clara had done the same thing to her mom, and frantically looked to Angel as the beast prepared to end my life. My son acted frantically, grabbing the kitchen blade and slamming it into the creature's head. The beast snarled and tossed Angel across the room, screaming as I could barely get any words out. "I wish," I gasped, pushing and kicking to fight the demon. The house was shaking so violently I thought it might collapse. Angel started throwing things at it. The discarded bottles Annalise had scattered everywhere. The glass smashed against the creature's face and it snarled again, stopping its attack on me and skittering towards Angel. I coughed up blood and tried to breathe. It was about to kill my son. Then, I heard him shout a wish. I joined him in repeating it, wishing that we did not need the well anymore. The demon shrieked louder than ever, placing its hands on its ears as its body jerked. The house shook and I pulled Angel away, watching as the demon was snapped back towards the well, like a rope was chained around its neck. It clawed and scratched and screamed as it was dragged under the water, the entire house rattling as it was halfway beneath the waves. Its face turned from a raging monkey demon into Kipton again, my son's innocent eyes pleading for us to help him. His screams were drowned out as the waters took hold of him, and we watched on in silence and horror. Together, we stood there in shock, as the well began to shrink again. I held him tightly, watching until the last edges of the seal burnt away, and nothing was left but concrete. The ground felt warm. Then everything was cold in the room. Around us, we saw the different items that had been wished into existence begin to dissolve. Grime and sludge replaced them, melting into the floor until at last we were alone. Angel didn't stop holding me, his frightened eyes wide open as he whispered, "Did it work? Is it over?" I walked toward the garage, opening the door to see that even the car was now completely gone. All the wishes, no matter how badly we had wanted them, were just mud now. I told Angel to stay downstairs as I went to check on Clara. Had the well taken her too? I saw her silhouette in the room, temporarily relieved. Then I opened the door and let the light trickle in, mortified by reality. She dangled from a hangman's noose, swaying back and forth gently, her eyes closed but peaceful. She reminded me of a fragile dandelion that had been blown on, her hair frilly and her skin a pasty white. I got on the chair and hastily pulled her to the ground, but it was clear she was already long gone. I was too numb to even shed a tear. I just held her limp body and stared off into the void. Angel appeared in the doorway, screaming when he saw his mom. He ran and cried, clinging to her and refusing to let go. We both held each other for the longest time. The house so empty and meaningless, with nothing left. Now, there was only regret. Become a channel member today for early access, bonus videos, and special emojis only available to members. Check out the description below or click the join button for more info. If you'd like another way to help support the channel, please consider joining my Patreon page at patreon.com/JordanGroupeHorror. As a patron, you'll get access to bonus videos and content. You'll be credited at the end of every video going forward. And if you decide to stay for 3 months, I'll name a character after you, which will be featured in a Hollow's End story. Links to join the Patreon are in the description. Thanks everyone for listening. Please like, subscribe, and comment to help the channel continue to grow. And see you again next time at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Hope you have a great night.